In 2018, I was 17, and I am very sure I remember what I was doing at 17. At 17, I was completing my industrial training after my first year in the tertiary institution I attended. And this week is a week where everyone has been made to reflect what they were doing at 17, and that's how we're starting the show this morning. Of course, it is a very very great day to talk sports, and yes, while I was not doing sports, I was sure of what I was doing. This was me at 17, yeah. And of course, you'll be getting to see the rest of the guys at 17. Welcome to the Gliders, another day to talk sports here on BetWGB TV. And of course, I am not alone. I never get to work alone. As the English champion that I want to be, as Liverpool that I want to be, I have with me my friends in the studio. Starting with me is the one who is placed beside me as the finest on set today. Is Timothy. Is on set, wearing glasses like me. I mean, why are you copying me? What's going on, Timothy? How are you doing?
I don't want anything to be wrong with my money, so I have to.
Was anything wrong last time out?
No, I threatened him.
She threatened me, so
Don't worry, I was very benevolent. Last month was my birthday month, so I decided to.
But this month is not your birthday month,
so I can decide to change.
Yeah, so
yes.
let me try to match you and let me follow your procedures.
Okay, good. I like it. I like when things go my way. I like when everybody knows their place in my life. Good. Anyways, that's TMT, and I'm very sure TMT had a very wonderful week watching the UEFA Champions League, especially because the team he's fully placing his weight behind actually gave us a spectacle of a game, which we are going to be delving into very shortly. But before I go into all of that, I also have with me Felix, who is making a return from the bench as usual. 1 week off, 1 week on, but he's back again today. Felix, how are you doing?
I am fine. I'm good. Joy, how are you?
I'm good. You're wearing your tie today.
I mean, I am like that guy.
I'm doing a good job, everybody. Clap for me. If not, go clap for me. Let me clap for myself. I'm doing such a good job.
You know when they say in NPFL teams have home players and away players. I'm like that guy. That travels on away trips and play with. So it's nice to be here, and very very good show you guys had last time out, and I'm hoping that we get even more of those kind of juice on the show today.
Of course, when it concerns juice, I'm never short of all of that. And this week, I'm bringing someone special on the show today, and of course, to bring more juice to the show, making his debut on the Gliders. He has always been in the background whenever we record, but making his debut on the Gliders today is no other than Mathieu Daffé. How are you doing?
I don't know what I'm fine, but I'm here. It's hard when people already start sailing and then they say you should play catch up, so it's gonna be hard if you watch this show and you say you don't like what I brought in. Please, I know your apology. They started with a very hot engine and I'm just warming up, so bear with me, but I'm fine.
But it's good to be on set with him, though. The first time I was on set with him was on radio in 2015, and 10 years after.
Did you bring drinks?
You go drink champagne. You go drink
later.
We're on the same set.
Snap where?
I'm not. As far that way you've been.
I publicly denounce myself from Shinap business. I'm not Babalawo. Deity.
No.
Even when they want to pay my child bride price, Shinap not follow. No, try me and see.
Anyways, it's great to have all of you on set, and of course, it was a very very great week watching football, from the Champions League game on Tuesday to the one on Wednesday. Well, we thought we saw a very good game on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, we were served with something very delightful, something that made all of us have to reminisce what we were doing at 17, because not just from the 17-year-old Lamine Yamal, who is arguably the best player in the planet on form right now, we also had to see what Inter Milan brought to the party, because we talked about them in the last.
Who is this?
That's okay. That is Timothy at 17.
Look like who wants to join the cadets.
The transformation is massive. Glow up.
Esther
was.
This is the established one.
Oh.
Guys, I'm so glad I brought this up, and I'm very glad that everybody is getting to
Mine will be worse,
reminisce at that. Let's see how
Mine will be
Edafe
worse.
is
Mine will be worse.
at
Let's see what
17. Oh,
Okay. Okay.
That-
You
Now
know where this picture-
Ballon d'Or.
No, that was
You know
player
the
of
years.
the
Ballon d'Or.
season. That was
Ballon
player
d'Or.
of the season in my
This trousers are like 15 yards. Though.
first year in the league in the NPFL. But it was Nigerian Pro League at the time. This is not the same money here.
This shoe can show
I
it.
remember I bought that shoe in France.
Wait,
I bought
this picture
it
you
in
jumped,
Strasbourg.
right? And they caught you in mid-day.
Yes.
Another day,
Okay.
Boss, where is he bingo?
No, that's me and my dog. That's Brandy.
Felix, they try and tie you two. They
That's
indulge.
me and Brandy.
Okay.
So we're doing old school play, and I was meant to be a hunter who have a dog. That's where that one came from. Okay,
I mean, it's great to see all of these memories, to go back memory
that's me and the
lane.
coach that formed the youth team that I formed at 17. But she's late now, BC Ogo, and the two of us formed a team called Bisalo Football Club, Bisalo United in Warri, and that team went on to go play up in the quarterfinals of the National FA Cup, where we sold the first 2 million naira player in the Nigerian league.
Were you anywhere near as good as Lamine Yamal?
No. We played the same
So what
position.
kind of question
As
is
good
that?
as Lamine Yamal, no. I think that what Lamine Yamal's got is the ability to see the moves 10 times before the ball gets to him. I think that I know what I want to do when I get the ball, but I'm not sure. Lamine Yamal is. I mean, that guy is. So I mean, maybe a B2, and he's a space rocket. So you're not even on the same planet at any given time.
But I mean, going back memory lane and seeing all that's happened over the years for everyone, especially that particular part where he mentioned the 2 million naira player that was sold, the first 2 million naira player that was sold from Nigeria. I mean,
Yeah,
at
the late
that-
Roberto
that's-
Carrier.
Of course, that is something.
From amateur to Lobby Stars, and then the player was eventually sold one season after when they won the league in '99 to Al Ahly.
Interesting.
In 2000.
Interesting. 1999 now when they bought me, so I was 17 when you guys saw that one. Anyways, that is so much to reminisce about. But we want to reminisce about what happened this week. We don't want to go to 1999. So we're back home and we're talking about the UEFA Champions League. We're in the semi-final stage and we had the first leg of games. The first one happened at the Emirates Stadium, and of course, I want to start with that particular game on Tuesday, and I want to start with Timothy. Now, let's leave tactics and everything. Let's leave what I want to talk about, the aura, or I want to talk about the vibe for the game. I saw comparison between theirs and that of their London neighbors yesterday.
The Tifo.
Yeah, the Tifo. And I want to ask, is it because they've not gotten to that stage in a very long time for us now? Is that why someone said they brought shower curtain to intimidate PSG, while others, I mean, we've seen other Tifos at this stage of the semi-finals of the Champions League. We were not even playing the Champions League yesterday. We saw what Tottenham Hotspur, who have not won European trophies, who have not gotten any silverware in as long as we can remember, could also bring to the party. Is it that the fan, and also the fan culture in England as compared to other countries? We saw the turnout. We saw not just the turnout. We saw the morale in the stadium at the Camp Nou when Barcelona played their game, and we saw that in Arsenal. Yes, you can say, okay, they considered a goal for us, but Barcelona were 2 goals behind on Wednesday. What is the difference between how fans watch football in England when it concerns that kind of atmosphere? Yes, they are the most watched league, but I'm talking about the atmosphere. We see what happens when you watch football in the yellow walls of Borussia Dortmund. So what is going on in England? Why don't they get it right? Or let me say Arsenal, because I'm sure that other clubs will want to argue that they do better than what Arsenal did on Tuesday.
Firstly, I think for the Premier League, they see themselves as, okay, people that watch football and all of those. But in terms of fan culture itself, have you watched the Brazilian League? Have you watched when River Plate and probably Boca Juniors are playing? I think those people, they really have the culture of, okay, this is our team. We are going to die. When Brazil is playing, you see their fans, they are singing from the beginning till the end. They are dancing, whether they are losing. There's still that vibe. You see one person is up, standing, shirtless, dress and is dancing, leading the other crowd to also dance and do all of those things. But for England, yes, some of them, they try to put themselves in that place of maybe they have the culture, but it's really not at that high level where they can say, okay, we can really match maybe the Italians or even the Spaniards whenever their team is playing. So for us now, I think that was what affected them. But I really don't understand what was with that tifo, because it was just so that's like
they didn't even bother to iron
it was just too basic, and
NPFL, NFF style.
I think they could have done. I think they could have done better. And for Arteta, they even made a video of Arteta. He made after they played against at the weekend before the game against PSG. In his press conference, he was saying that he needed everyone to come with their boots, all of those things.
Jerseys.
They still made a video of him, kind of a short documentary thing or content scene, if you would say that, okay, come with your vibe, all of those things and do everything, but still it did not happen. I think that for us now, in terms of the fan culture on when they played PSG, I think it was really low. And aside when they were saying they are not London forever, that was just the only time I think they were at that high level. But generally supporting, going beyond the team, they really could not push the players to that point of saying, okay, let's, when Madrid scores one goal, even though they are losing 3-1, they still believe that we can raise. Arteta tried to use. You could even notice it that Arteta tried to, most times on the touchline, try to raise the fans that, okay, put your energy on the high level and back this team to the end. But maybe just what they don't have. Like a saying says, if he didn't they, he didn't they.
For me, I think is a problem that is becoming very, very pronounced in English football these days. And the locals, they are beginning to fight against it, because right now we have a lot of tourists who are coming to those stadiums. They don't have as much passion as those locals. The guys who come, they just want to enjoy themselves, snap pictures. I'm at the Emirates. We've seen it at Manchester City games. We've seen it, the stadium is flat. We've seen it at Arsenal games. Sometimes the stadium can be flat. But somebody would ask, why was it different against Madrid? Maybe it was because they were playing against Madrid.
Okay.
So maybe that kind of affected the atmosphere. But I don't understand how your team is playing in the semi-finals for the first time in 19 years. You are a tourist, you are a local, you should be up your seats. Maybe the early goal, like Joy mentioned, maybe that early goal, maybe it took out something from the fans in that stadium. And
but I think the early goal should have even spurred them to even do better.
You could see every time Ryan makes a save, he goes back to the post.
It's like
trying to
was doing same also.
Martinelli misses a chance. They should not be doing that to their fans in a semi-finals when you are down. You should be up on your feet cheering the team. So I think that the English fans, I've listened to a couple of them on social media complain about ticketing, that the clubs are focusing on tourists because they bring more money. They spend more at the club. They are even taking season tickets from people and transferring them to places where you barely hear them.
Okay.
So they are taking them from behind the coaches and the players. They want to put the tourists there. So maybe that could be something that is beginning to affect the top sides in England, because you don't see those flatness when Aston Villa is playing.
Even go to the championship, you watch the championship and you still see their fans like going back and against their team.
Those ones don't have those business, tourism and all of that mindset as at now. When they become as big as Tottenham Hotspur is becoming now with the biggest...
Did you just call Tottenham Hotspur big?
Business-wise, they have one of the... They made more revenue than most other teams
because
in the world
of
with
their
their stadium.
Okay.
So tourism is in the mind, and how to make money is in the minds of most of those clubs. And the local fan base and the supports, the passion is beginning and gradually dying with some of those English teams.
Oh, some of those English teams. I think I remember we saw a particular exclusive we got from that game between Ipswich and Arsenal. Where we saw the Ipswich fans who were so happy to have come and just experience the Premier League, and they are going back to their level.
Where they belong.
Yeah, where they belong. I could see them still very passionate, still very happy.
Somebody supporting this season, that man said 49 years.
49 years. And I mean, Edafe, you mentioned the fact that that man may live and die and never see his team win anything, but he's so happy to be there. I mean, you know that they'll say, I'm happy to be here, and he's happy to be there. They are going back to the championship.
Contentment with godliness is great gain for an Ipswich town, Southampton town, those kind of fans. They are content.
So I think
push their ambitions.
So now I'm asking, but this is not the case in other countries with the big teams. Real Madrid were behind against Arsenal, even on aggregate.
Are you assuming that Arsenal is a big team?
not just Arsenal. He mentioned Man City too.
Sometimes their stadium can be empty.
I've seen Chelsea fans also complain about it. Now Chelsea. You've mentioned Tottenham Hotspur, the business angle, the financial angle, how much they've been making in recent years. I mean, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has been hosting boxing games, Anthony Joshua NFL games, and all of that. What do you think the English FA can do to ensure that this is something that doesn't die under their watch? Because, like I said, it's not happening in other leagues where top teams are playing. I remember last season we saw where Borussia Dortmund were playing in the semis and also in the finals. We saw them. We saw how that. I mean, I was not there. I could see
as recent as the Barcelona game, they were 4 goals down.
They were 4 goals, and their fans were still. Yeah. And then you could see how much that spurred them to actually want to stage a comeback. Remember that they went on to defeat Barcelona in the second leg of that game. In fact, it was even 4, but that was unfortunately chopped off for them. What can the English FA do to make sure that this doesn't die? Because it is slowly dying. We are all admitting to that particular one.
When I was growing up, my mom used to say that my own and our own not be the same thing. And I'm going to put it this way. A woman who gets pregnant and went through the first, second, third trimester and delivered a child would treat that child different from the one that adopts a child. You know, in the long run, the connection is different. If you look at the teams, and it's also happening to a team like AC Milan all of a sudden, if you look at the teams that are beginning to have foreign ownership, the other day Ruud Gullit was complaining that he ran into Todd Boehly and he was greeting him, and Todd Boehly was asking him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I coached at Chelsea." And he said, when did you coach? He said, "I played and I coached." Todd Boehly does not know him. Not like it's a big deal, but an English owner will not do that, right? So the ownership takes a lot away. And if you look at teams like Sporting Lagos, teams like Remo Stars, teams like Ikorodu City, you could see that the few people who are connected to the club are happy to be connected to the club because somebody know the owners. There is something about you knowing the owner of a business that makes you feel like, because I know this guy and I know what he's capable of, I'm going to back him. But when you have these Yahoo Boys owners, like the Arsenal owner, the Chelsea owner, you know, ritualist, Man United owner who stay in the US, is watching his team on TV, gradually hope defer make what's it called, justice deferred make the heart go weary. That's what they say. When you begin to follow a club and you start going up and say, why am I even killing myself when the owner is not here? That's what happened with City. Some people are sitting in Qatar or Abu Dhabi and you are killing yourself every day. You know that they are buying this success. This success are adopted success. My problem with the Arsenal own is you've not played in Champions League semi-finals. In your 100 and something years, you've only played twice in the semi-finals. This is your third one. You raised the roof against Real Madrid because it is Real Madrid. But let's not forget that this is one of the weak Real Madrid in the last 20, 30 years. And then against Paris Saint-Germain, you're waiting for coach to become choir master, players to become conductors of the orchestra for you to support your team. But having said that, I think that Arsenal was flat, one. And then secondly, they also showed that they are not a big club. Arsenal was doing video to beg fans to come and support their team in the semi-finals.
It felt like Real Madrid for that second leg.
You're playing against Paris Saint-Germain. For all the noise about Paris Saint-Germain, they played in the finals once just like Arsenal. They are not irregular semi-finalists as well, even though Arsenal has only been to 2 semi-finals before this one. And you would have thought that, okay, there's the hunger for it. But still, Arsenal AFTV, their channel, had more energy than the club, you know, itself on match day. And it's strange because you ask yourself, where did the energy against Madrid go? Or did they compress all the energy for one full season, use it against Madrid, and now they are just there, like knowing they can. Even the players couldn't play. Odegaard was 0, Trossard was 0. Without Thomas Partey, you know, it was like things fall apart and the center cannot hold. So I think that it's a small club mentality, because I don't think that Liverpool in the semi-finals will do a video when they are playing against Paris Saint-Germain. I don't think Man United, even though they've gone astray They fall out of the way of the Lord and they follow the devil and they've gone astray. But if Man United wants to play Paris Saint-Germain in the semi-finals, I don't think their coach will be doing video, you guys should come and do this. They won't do that. Man City, even as plastic as their fans can be, won't do that. You have to position yourself. If you have a Ferrari, you shouldn't be arguing in traffic with somebody who's driving a Keke Napep. No disrespect to people who drive Keke Napep, but I'm just using that for my analogy. But Arsenal always position themselves in the self pity. Remember when Arteta had to play Liverpool, you never walk alone in training.
He did something similar.
What else?
He played atmosphere.
Yeah, what sort of stupidity is all this
training
one?
ahead of this game.
I'm paying you salary. That's why I'm people think I'm mean. I'm paying you XYZ amount of salary. I expect you to deliver. I don't need to play you music. If you need somebody to play music, go tell your parents that you are saving from poverty and all that to come play music for you. But for me, I'm giving you a tactical instruction. I'm telling Let's start in the Carabao Cup. This is an opportunity. Paris Saint-Germain is beatable. Nobody should tell me that they're not beatable.
Sure.
They are beatable. And Arsenal, if they had played the same way they played against Madrid, they should have beaten them. But it's a small club mentality. They always bottle things anyway.
Okay. The next, I think we'll go more into what happens in the next game when we do the next edition of the show, because we'll have ample time to dwell on that. But this time around, let's move to the second game that happened on Wednesday. The game at the Nou Camp, that game between Barcelona and Inter Milan. And I'll start with Felix. Now, that game, first 20 minutes, we already saw Barcelona down. But as much as they were behind, trailing by 2 goals, it was something that almost everyone could bet that they will come back in that game. I mean, where did that particular confidence come from? Not just when I'm saying everybody, I'm not talking about just Barcelona fans. I'm talking about people who have watched neutrals who have watched them all through the season. You know them to be the current comeback kings of European football. And then that happened, and before you know it, that moment of magic and brilliance from Yamal got them back into the game, and before you know it, they got another goal, and that is how that game continued. They were never going to back down from a fight. They conceded another one, went behind again in the second half, and they came back again. And I mean, in 2 minutes, that's what I'm saying. Like, before you know it, once they concede, they regroup, and they are going forward to get the goal. Where did that confidence come from? And what has Hansi Flick been able to do with this young crop of players? Because they are one of the youngest teams we've ever seen play for Barcelona in recent years. What has happened with this Barcelona side?
There is this confidence that you get from doing things over and over again. There is this I don't know if it's a proverb or just a cliche that people say practice makes better or practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Barcelona have had to come back from behind. As recently as 2-3 weeks ago, there was this La Liga game. They were down against this Iglesias.
Yes,
yeah, he was running riots against them. At the viewing center where I was seeing that game, you could see Barcelona fans. 1 go down, 2 go down. They were
so
utterly confident that they had not lost that game. And that is from the knowing that we have done it before this season and we are going to do it again. And it's captured in what Lamine Yamal said the other day after that game against Real Madrid. We know that you are going to score us, but our job is to outscore you. We are going to outscore you. And that is something that Hansi Flick has brought to this team. Don't care too much about when you keep the high line, they beat that offside trap, they score against you. Care so much about what you can do against them, how you can hurt them. And that is what Barcelona has done extremely well this season. It's a confidence thing. He has taken them from this place where Xavi left them. He has brought them here. Nothing is impossible until the referee blows that final whistle that everybody go in, take your shower, it's the end of the game. As long as there is still time to play, those Barcelona players don't give up. And that is what has helped them for the last couple of weeks. And I was heavily impressed when I saw the scoreline 2-0. I said, okay, Inter, probably the best defense in the Champions League this season. A lot of clean sheets. In the league phase, they conceded just 1 goal. The last round, they conceded a couple against
before
Bayern.
Barcelona.
I was like, okay, can Inter keep it tight at the back? But Lamine Yamal from nowhere sparks the comeback. Then the other goal from Ferran Torres, and you could see they started taking control of the game. That confidence builds when you have done something before, and there's this flashbulb that comes to your eye. You see okay, 2-1 2-2. We don't do it before. We don't come from behind. Win before. They were now chasing that win. Inter used another tactics again from set piece. Scored. They still did not give up. They scored again. So it is a confidence thing. And it's all credit to Hansi Flick. Because it's the same players that Xavi was using last season that is using this season. But it just tick the light bulb in their minds, and it's different now.
Now, according to what we saw in that game, it shows that they are very, very porous when it concerns defending. That will now come to Timothy with the team that they will be facing in the second leg. Remember, they are going away this time around. What do you think Simone Inzaghi can do to be able to exploit that porousness? He exploited it, but yes, of course, what they do is they try to outscore you. What can be done to be able to actually beat them with that? That's their weakness. That looks to be their only weakness in that team currently. Maybe if they fix that, they'll become the greatest team we'll be having in the next couple of years in European football. What can be done to be able to use that to actually do the damage against them? Because I think they are a big team that you can actually beat.
Yeah, they are beatable.
They are a beatable team. What can be done? And also for Inter Milan, I don't know. They are a team that don't concede as many goals. But that particular day, after the Yamal's brilliance, I did not expect that they will fall like a pack of cards. What happened on that particular day? I think you watched them more, so you should be able to give us more insight into what happened to their defense. Before that day, how many goals had they scored? Just 4 goals before they got to the new camp that day in the Champions League.
Yeah, like you did say, I did not expect that if Inter were going to concede, they'll concede 3 goals. At the same way, I did not expect that Inter were going to score 3 goals. So I think it was an interesting game, and it showed why it was a proper semi-final. We had people even saying that it would have been sweet. Imagine having that in the final, then probably get into 120 minutes, then let the winner be decided by penalties. You know that, okay, you have had the proper final. But like you did say, I think for the first thing, the best strength Inter have now is they are good on set pieces. Before the game against Bayern Munich, I said in one of our episodes that they had scored from over 20 in terms of set pieces, both direct plays, both corners and normal free kicks. So they are very good with set pieces, and you saw it against Barcelona. Barcelona cannot match them for height.
They had 1.5 meters height on
so
average against
Barcelona cannot match
players.
them for height, and when you have the likes of Di Marco and Chanaloglu, they are very good with crossing the ball. Their outswing corners have been something that has worked for them very well this season. So I think Inzaghi should still stick with that set piece tactic. I do not know how Hansi Flick wants to come against it, but I think it's hard to defend corner against Inter. That's the very truth. So if you are going to play Inter, you have to find a way to, like Felix was saying, we may concede by set pieces, but we also find our own way. And the other way Inzaghi could, I think what Inzaghi did wrongly from the last game was you were teaming against a coach I feel is better than in terms of tactical structure. You scored the 2 goals. Yeah, it's hard to defend. It's hard to come out proper against Barcelona, but I felt that they sat back too easily when they scored the 2 goals. I would not have expected 20 minutes into the game.
Was it them sitting back, or it was Barcelona ramping the pressure?
Yeah, I think it's Barcelona that pegged them.
Okay, but at the way I felt like, they could have increased the line. I was arguing with Mikolo the other day when we were talking that he said they were going to sit back, and if you watch Inter very well, as much as they are not the full team that goes all out, they don't sit that deep. They try to increase their line. If you notice it in the second half, it was evident when they started the game. Whenever Barcelona were trying to build up, not like Acerbi, Bastoni or Bisek really came high, but it was not as deep as it was in the first half or towards the dying minutes of the first half. They increased it a little bit, and it was more difficult for Barcelona to score. We saw it from the game. Although Barcelona still created chances, the brilliance of Lamine Yamal, the brilliance of
a high line in the second leg.
No, I'm not saying the high line. Increase. There's a thing. Arteta would say that his team comes out. I can't remember, but at least there's a meter where your team. We have coaches. You see Guardiola say his team has to come out maybe 1.6 meter high. You have maybe Guardiola. You have maybe Klopp saying his team has to come out 1.7 meter high. I'm saying that don't come too high, but at least don't sit too deep. Because if you sit too deep, it's hard for you. Don't have runners in midfield. You have technical midfielders, but you don't have the likes of Mkhitaryan. You saw it. In fact, I did not expect that Mkhitaryan would complete that game. He could not match the energy of Frankie de Jong, Pedri, and all of those players. So when you don't have midfielders that can give you that pace, physicality, and run all of those things, you have to find a way to bring the balance, connect the midfield and the defenders totally too much. And for Barcelona, they have fast wingers, but you would still find a way. You're playing a 3-5-2. Once, let's say they find the Lamine Yamal.
The Marco go still they take massage like this because Yamal.
But what in that case? What do you do when your position is in possession of the ball, and they are pressing you like the biblical mighty rushing wind, but you don't have the spirit of the Lord to raise the standard against you?
Well, it's hard, like I did say, for you to contain Barcelona. But one thing, if you know Inter very well, they are very compact. The likes of Lautaro Martinez and Thuram, they're always high up. Then the other midfielders, I think one thing I would want Inzaghi to do also in that game, maybe it's hard to not start. I don't see him changing anything from that play, from that
lineup.
Except, or maybe Pavard comes by, because Pavard is better than Bisek. But it's hard. But I've really wanted someone who is better than Mkhitaryan in terms of someone who can hold the ball. You see Barella trying to do 1 or 2 turns, trying to make all of those things, but Mkhitaryan is getting the ball, he's being dispossessed immediately. It's very hard here. You're competing against Pedri, Frankie de Jong, and all that. It's very hard. Like I did say, it's going to be hard for them to do all of those things, but like, their set piece would be a very good strength. Hope that Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram. I saw Marcus Thuram. As much as I would even fault Mkhitaryan came into the game later in the second half. We saw him passing the ball. Marcus Thuram was through 1v1 twice. One was a very, very brilliant block from Pau Kubasi, which I can say, okay, that's very, very good. But the other one, you were through, you could have just cut in and maybe hold up, play very well and pass the ball. But you saw him lose possession. Not even once, it was twice. Aside the one Pau Kubasi blocked, there was also that case. So you have to be very clinical. And also, I think they missed Lautaro Martinez in the second half, because the way they came out in the second half, if you had a Lautaro Martinez who is very good with his feet, he can dribble. He's like the best dribbler at Inter. He can dribble. He can also pass the ball. He can hold up play, and he can shoot very well. I think it would be very, very nice. But all in all, it was a very, very good matchup. Tactical brilliance from Simone Inzaghi, tactical brilliance from Hansi Flick, and it was an enjoyable game.
Proper semi-finals.
I'm not going to ask you who goes through, because we already know your bias towards Inter going through. I'm going to ask the guys who goes through.
I don't feel penalty would decide it. I don't know, but I don't know. Because the Miazza would, although Inter may not be the strongest at home, but I know that the fans will come crazy.
Okay, let me allow everybody go and marinate their thoughts when it concerns who goes through. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the next. I mean, we're going to have to determine. So maybe you want to determine with what happens over the weekend, because I mean, games are going to be played over the weekend by all the teams who participated in the semi-finals of the Champions League. Let's quickly move away from the Champions League and go to the Europa, where there's also so much to unpack, especially in that game between Manchester United and of course Athletic Bilbao, where we had the change of events from what we used to see for Manchester United. Yes, they have not lost in Europe this season, but they usually don't get it this easy. I mean, it was so surprising that it was so easy for them going into that game. Even before they got the red card and the penalty, they were looking like the better team. We saw the Brazilian brilliance of what's his name now?
Casemiro.
Not Casemiro, of Maguire. Maguire was a Brazilian on
Maguire,
that day.
the winger.
That's what I'm saying. The Brazilian brilliance of
that was prime Nani crossing the ball.
He dribbled before the cross.
That's what I'm saying. It's Brazilian. He was. I mean, and we saw that yesterday, and of course the rest of the game, especially the rest of the first half, because we're still going to talk about what happened in the second half. Because a lot of people expected that, okay, yes, with everything that happened first half, you expect them to score more goals. Because with Manchester United, a 3-goal lead is still very questionable going into the second leg. And I want us to talk about something that caused a lot of talks yesterday, which is that particular call that got the penalty that Bruno scored, and of course got Bilbao to be down to 10 men. Now there's been a lot of amendments to a lot of rules in football in the last decade, especially, and the latest I think has been that one in 2016. Not the latest, but that one that we saw in that game yesterday might most likely be from the one in 2016, where we have the the current rule of double jeopardy, and I mean, yesterday the player got sent off and a penalty was given. So we'll argue and say, okay, he was not supposed to get there, he was supposed to get a yellow, and because the rule says once you give a penalty, you should give a yellow card, especially if the player is not already on a yellow card. So give him a yellow card. Now, what happened in that game that made this particular decision different? First of all, do you think that decision is right, Felix?
Yeah.
First of all, is it right?
Yeah,
was the
correct.
referee
It was a
a
correct
correct
decision.
call?
Correct
Okay,
call
why
from
do you
the
think
ref.
that was a correct call?
Okay, so people make mistakes with this double jeopardy rule, and it is not as straightforward as they might say it is. Now, here's the thing: there are situations that the double jeopardy rule in quotes comes into play. If a player is attempting to play the ball, as you can see on the screen showing there, if you are attempting to play the ball, if there is a deliberate attempt or effort to try and play the ball, it's a yellow card and a penalty. If it's outside the box, it's a red card and a free kick. If there is no deliberate attempt, it's highlighted there. If no deliberate attempt to play the ball, pushing, shoving, tackling, tripping, whatever you do, if there is no deliberate attempt to play the ball, it's a red card and a penalty. And that is what the referee did not give the penalty on field.
Yeah.
So it's not like he had it in mind, premeditated to do what he did. He did not even think it was a penalty in the first place. He went to the monitor. They first of all verified that it was a foul. After that, they watched again the clip to see was he attempting to play the ball, and you could see his hands all over Rasmus Højlund. Would Rasmus Højlund have gotten to the ball and scored that goal?
That was another
different
But
question.
I mean, why you pulling
situation
Højlund?
before that call was right, but there was also a thing about the fact that there was a handball incident by Garnacho yesterday.
Yeah,
Do you think that should have affected the entire situation?
No, the rule is also clear on that. If it's a deliberate handball leading to a goal, it would have not counted. But also, where it is, whether deliberate or not deliberate, is if the person that does the handball scores or assists. Deliberate or not deliberate does not matter in that situation. The goal does not stand. But with Garnacho, he played the ball to what's his name on the right hand side, Mazraoui, who crossed. So he was not involved in. If you call it like
free assist.
Yeah, the modern game. That's we don't recognize free assist as a start in football.
Yeah.
So Mazraoui with the cross that was leading to assist did not have a handball. Rasmus Højlund, who was going to score, did not touch the ball. So the handball argument there goes out of the. I don't think that was a handball even. It was on the floor. It's just like, was it the Madrid game? Was it Rudiger that was on the floor when they crossed the ball?
Yes,
and El Clasico, people were shouting Piqué. Where was his hand supposed to be? Would we cut our hands because we want to play football?
Want to defend.
So he was on the floor. He touched his chest, then his hands, and he passed. So he did not give the assist. He did not score the goal. The handball goes out of the wind. They did not even spend any time on that because he did not score or give the assist that led to the goal. And for the red card, very fantastic call from the referee. You could see the Athletic Bilbao players. They were crying, but I'm sure if they watch the clip again, see what Vivian did there, and they read the laws of the game. They will
obviously know the laws of the game. Now, come on. There's always somebody in the club that interprets it, unless they want to play politics.
Sometimes they just want to behave like they are witchcraft.
But I mean, that particular call influenced the game in some sorts, and we didn't get a balanced game. Although Bilbao came out to play at some points, but I mean, we didn't get a balanced game as we expected. And Manchester United went on to coast into victory. Because of our time, I don't really think we will dwell more on that. But the issue we wanted to touch light on for many people who had issues with that particular call from the referee has just been narrated or explained by Felix. Now let's move to the other parts of England, because a lot of people are having this, or we are having this meditation that what if all the trophies, European trophies, come to England, because at least there's one English team in each of the competition. We have Arsenal in the semi-finals of the Champions League, one goal. They were the odd one this week because every other person in England won. They are one goal, trailing by a goal, going to Park the Princes next week. The other team is Manchester United, who are one leg in the finals of the Europa, and then the other team is also Tottenham Hotspur, who are also one leg in, although two of them, Manchester United, because of the kind of way they've played so far this season, and Tottenham Hotspur because we know they are Spurs and they know how to bottle. But at least from what we have on paper right now, they should be one leg into the finals of the Europa, so might be having an all English final in the final of. But my own question is, a lot of people are saying that if Man United and Spurs are to meet in the finals of the Champions League, you have to have it at the back of your mind that there's something going on for Spurs on paper. On paper is that Angel has never lost, or I've never gone on
trophyless
to trophyless in the second season, and Manchester United have not beaten this guy
3 times.
You've met him thrice and you've not beaten him. So do you think that when they get to the finals, that would be a decision, or that will actually affect what happens on the pitch of play, or we'll get to see a different ball game like we saw yesterday for Manchester United, because yesterday no one expected them to have it so easy for them?
Well, I think that if they get to the finals, they will beat Spurs. Not because I'm a Man United fan or because I think that Manchester United is extraordinary. I just think that Spurs know how to bottle things, so worse than Arsenal. And to think about all the English teams that are in the competition that could all be in the finals, the strange part of it is, if you bring it squarely to England, it's going to be 3 London teams possibly in the finals if Arsenal are able to grow past their small club mentality and overrun Paris Saint-Germain. But at the end of the day, it might just be only one London club that would have a title, and that's Chelsea. Why Chelsea? Because they know how to win titles. They could be terrible, they could be horrible, they'll still win your title. But let's stay with situate ourselves with the Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur. This is not the first time. We've seen a Tottenham Hotspur team go all the way to the finals of the Champions League in a season where they had like some of the best players, Harry Kane, their guy,
Dele
and
Alli, Son.
then they get Dele Alli, Son Heung-min. Those
Then
players were running.
That happens to be maybe the worst Champions League final I've watched in my
But
life.
but when we remember that finals, we will remember the brilliance of Son Heung-min, Harry Kane, Dele Alli. What we remember is that's the
Lucas
worst
Moura.
team.
Yeah.
They had also Lucas Moura, who scored a hat-trick against ARS. We would always remember the most horrible nightmare of a finals that they gave us. That's what we remember. We saw them go to the finals of the Carabao Cup, if I'm not mistaken, and then they sacked their coach Jose Mourinho. We've seen too many things about them. I agree that Angel Postecoglou, post office, always win titles in the second season, and is banking on that. But then Manchester United also know that in terms of business right now, winning the Europa and getting into the Champions League is the one thing that can make players like Victor Osimhen and all the other players they want to sign consider to come play. The kind of salaries that those players want to ask for, also it is qualifying for the Champions League that will make it happen. Spurs, whether they win Champions League or they don't win anything, the Europa Cup or anything, they are still the biggest business. In terms, they are an Alaba market club, okay? So they will still have more money. Spurs actually, the management of Spurs would actually not want Spurs to win this title, because winning it means that they are going to pay out bonuses that they are not used to paying ever. The bonuses that they will pay out might cause heart attack, might cause depression, might take them off the ladder as one of the most profitable clubs to one of the non-profitable clubs. So all of that put together will be surprising. And then going to the finals to go and win is something strange to them. The coach might be different. But let's not forget that the coach wanted to beat Manchester City last season.
Yeah.
But the spirit of the club held him back and said, no, we don't do that here.
External forces.
We don't do that here. And they lost. We would rather see Arsenal lose the title than win Man City. And that's not the first time they did it. Remember when Terry Sheringham scored against Manchester United some seasons ago and Arsenal would have gone on to win the league? The fans in the stadium were angry. Why would Terry Sheringham, Babatov, why would Babatov go and score? That's the season he left there. Why would Babatov score? And then Manchester United ended up winning that game. So if you look carefully, Spurs have ancestral, they say village people. That's the only club that have village people following them. They have ancestral cause that makes them not win title. And it is that cause against the guy who wins title the second season. One man plus versus an entire community cause. I think the community will win.
All right, that will be determined when they get to meet maybe Manchester United or Atletico. Like I said, Atletico Bilbao are not over and out, because they will have to go back to the drawing board and reassemble with 11 men when they play the return leg next
Can you play
week,
Man United
Thursday.
and score them 3 without them scoring back? At least one.
I think it's going to be difficult.
That's the difficult part. It's not like Man United.
Then they're
Onana will
playing
do what
with
Onana know how to
two
do.
comfortable victory from Man
yeah,
United.
they should have scored
in the
3-1,
Europa League.
3-2 so that you make them
But
scared.
to score 3 goals or 4
Unreplied.
unreplied
At least
against
Man
Man
United will
United.
score. Even if they will lose, they will
With this
still
rich vein of
score.
form that Bruno Fernandes is in, and some of the players are willing to run, they've removed those players that normally make them feel
Casemiro
like
is in that
if
group
you're
of
not
wanting to
running,
win
if you're
titles.
not
Won
playing, I'm not
titles.
playing. They've removed Rashford, they've
Sancho.
removed Sancho, they've
Anthony.
removed Anthony. It's going to be difficult.
That's they list them.
Talking about Sancho, he was on the score sheet yesterday and began that.
And Anthony too.
You people
Yeah.
should sign him up.
Where am I? I don't do deals.
She not be
I
financial
don't-
officer.
Will you
I
want
do.
Chelsea to sign him?
No, I don't. Anyways, Sancho was on the score sheet yesterday, and we're talking about the teams in Europe. The final one is Chelsea, who are one leg in the finals of the UEFA Conference League because they won 4-1 away from home. And Jackson and Palmer somehow found their way to reconnect that partnership that we saw
Jackson
from
and
them in the
Palmer,
first.
Leslie Palmer out
the
of
first,
this thing. Jackson.
No, not the goal. I'm talking about them getting goal involvement together. He
Oh,
assisted Jackson for the first
Palmer is
goal.
still playing like Pamela.
But I'm just bringing that up. And of course, we have the 2 goals by Jackson looking like what might have sent Chelsea to the final of the conference. They will get to play the return leg at Stamford Bridge next week. And of course, that will also be one to watch out for. Though a lot of people believe that is already done and dusted for them. That is how that went on in Europe. But before we leave Europe, let's quickly touch light on the biggest team in Europe by every standard you want to measure them. I want to talk about Real Madrid. Now, Real Madrid's marriage with Carlo Ancelloti might be in its final days. I mean, there's still a lot of drama going on behind the scene right now. Paperwork. Real Madrid saying they don't want him to go, or they are not willing to allow him to go to Brazil. There's just so much drama going on, but that's not what we're dwelling on today. We're dwelling on if that marriage gets to end at the end of this season, where would you be ranking Don Carlo, that's Carlo Ancelloti, as where will you rank him as in the hierarchy of coaches that have coached Real Madrid? Real Madrid with 15 Champions League titles, over 30 league titles. Where would you rank Ancelloti in that particular pecking order? Let me start from Felix. Where will you rank him in that particular order?
In the modern era, which is where I was born.
You know what Cleveland says?
I don't know those winners, those people that won 3 Champions League in Daipata. No, I don't know those ones. In the modern era, I would say he's number 1. He's won the most trophies in Real Madrid history, 15. There is Zinedine Zidane in a shorter spell winning 13. There is Vicente de Bosque, who won 2 Champions League titles and did some good work with them. I would the style of play and entertainment value is not of the as much as it was with Zidane and his Ronaldo BBC team. But success is what this game is about for many people.
Yeah.
So I would say he's number 1 in the modern day Real Madrid coaches. If you get anything beyond 1999 and it's back or you're lower. But if we are saying anything from that period when I started seeing the game and the coaches that have been at Madrid, I feel those 3 are like the top guys. Vicente de Bosque, Zidane and Carlo Ancelloti. And Ancelloti is not second on that list. He's first.
Ancelloti is okay, so you're doing it from the descending order to the ascending order. So it is Ancelloti top, Zidane next,
De Bosque.
So let me get to that. Maybe Adafi has a more. I've seen more of them than we have. So where will you rank?
It's actually hard to argue. One man whose name will come in, even though he didn't win the Champions League, is Fabio Capello. And the reason why I bring in Fabio Capello into this conversation, when you coach a team, you win a title when they're in the dire straits, and then you leave, and then you come back again 10 years. 1997, when Dortmund won the Champions League, Fabio Capello was the coach of Real Madrid. It was a transitional period. They had some depth issues and all that. He won the league for them, but not in the most exciting way. But who was expecting exciting football from Carlo Ancelloti, a man who went through an entire season with AC Milan, scoring 36 goals, winning the league title, conceding only 15 goals. Because people always talk about the Mourinho team that conceded 15 goals. Carlo Ancelloti, Fabio Capello did that. And then 2007, Madrid were also having issues with their Galacticos. They were not gelling. Came again, and he won the title. It will be in the conversation.
Yeah, but he didn't win the Champions League.
No, it will be in the conversation. But then, when you look at Don Carlo, he spent 7 seasons. Yeah, across two spells, 7 seasons. Nobody thought that any coach in the history of modern football can do the Champions League 3-peats. I will go to sleep. One of the reasons why Silas Ferguson, for instance, is always talked about is the treble that he won in 1999. If you take away that treble or the 3-peat that he did twice or so of the Premier League, you would narrow that whole 26 years down and say, well, this guy really didn't achieve. Just like Arsene Wenger. I don't see him as a successful or a great coach. That's a coach that any right-foot thinking coach coming to us now can come and dwarf him within a short period of time. Because with 22 years, you won only 2 or 3 Premier League titles. Everybody talk about the invincible. But now, so when you look at what Zinedine Zidane did with the short time that he was there, it's hard to pluck him out. So I put him in my number 1. I put Don Carlo number 2, Vicente De Bosque, because of the team that he had and how beautiful they were. I mean, who had the gut to put a 16-year-old Ike Casillas in goal as to give him his debut? And it wasn't as if he was prepared for it. Their other goalkeeper got injured, and then all of a sudden just called him. He was playing computer game and then became number 1. And from there, he didn't look back. He gave us Raul, gave us Fernando Herrero, the Gutis of this world, and a lot of other beautiful players. And Real Madrid was fantastic. That was a time when nobody could even banter Real Madrid. Made them so attractive that some of the coaches that later came in, Jose Mourinho, with the total point haul that he used to win the league title, I think I'll go with him as third. I would have dragged Mourinho into that conversation because of the way he shot the best era of Barcelona. But I'll leave it for Zinedine Zidane because of the time that he had and the 3-peats.
Valid argument for Zidane.
Yeah.
That time frame to win 3
Champions League. And let's not forget that
he left and came back, still won the league.
Yeah, this was a period where Messi and Barcelona were hot. And
Barcelona were champions the season before in the Champions
2015 defeated Juve
Messi,
in the final.
Neymar,
yeah, and then he won this. They had the MSN,
yes,
but they were able to do 3-peat. I think I'll give it to Zidane. And it wasn't on a big contract. It wasn't the highest paid coach in the world.
He wasn't even given a chance by
He wasn't given a chance. People
it was
didn't like
brought
him.
up from their
now that you've mentioned, do you understand why he has been out of football for this long?
I think he locked himself in for
The France.
Didier Deschamps' job, and he thought that after the winning of the World Cup, that thing they say everybody have left when they won the World Cup. Carlos Alberto Pereira left Brazil when he won the World Cup in '94. Emi Jacquet left France when he won the World Cup in '98. So that was a tradition: win the World Cup and then leave it, and then somebody else came in. And if Zidane is the only Frenchman to have won the Champions League as a manager. If he had gone from winning the World Cup as a player, winning the Champions League as a player, and then as a coach, and then gone on to win the World Cup, even this Don Carlo that we are regarding as the greatest coach of all time will be, counting coins behind him. And then he saw the beautiful generation of players that they've got, that the French team have got, Pavard, Mbappe, all these guys. He felt he could do something. But then Didier Deschamps had other plans.
The plan is coming to an end, so he probably gets his wish.
He announced it himself, but I think Zidane was, I don't want to say foolish, but I think he was eyeing a job that...
You cannot call Zidane foolish on this set.
Yes, so I'm not talking about his playing abilities,
but
his coaching
what
abilities.
makes him foolish?
No, I mean in terms
What
of...
other job were you going to give him? From Real
United.
Madrid to go coach Everton like...
Man United.
No, I mean in terms of the job he was
United
eyeing,
is poison chalice now.
you can't eye a Didier Deschamps job for someone who was doing well, and for France it was about, he won the 2018 World Cup, they went into the Euros, like it was
It was the French president Macron.
Leave when its
Yes,
innovation is loudest. So he was suspecting that
he was going to leave,
is
but
loudest.
like boss said, he had Didier Deschamps,
Edafe.
like Edafe said, Didier Deschamps had other plans. But I think, like I did say, it was eyeing a job in which you know that this man, like Didier Deschamps, has been there for how many years now? I think he joined in. It's been so long. It was there for them in the 2016 Euros.
Yes.
Before
I
then,
think
who was the coach in 2012 Euros?
So it started 2015.
2015.
Yeah, so
it's
he's
10
been
years.
there for so long. You kind of know that this person would want to continue. But,
Historically, how many coaches do you see coach national team for 10 years?
10 years.
well, it's difficult.
In that 10 years,
It's
Nigeria has
difficult.
had like 215 coaches.
It's difficult. I think.
No. General helped our life. So
But-
5 years.
five.
5
But,
years.
but he can come to the job now and probably have his own maybe stretch of 15, 20 years. Who knows?
Hopefully.
Talking about that, I mean, we've seen coaches
After the next
we've not
World Cup.
seen we've not seen a lot of coaches gather that amount of number of years under their belts. We have seen certain coaches do it. We've seen Uruguay with their coach. We saw the guy with Brazil before he eventually call it quits. And of course, we've seen other coaches too, we've seen Cisse with Senegal now.
Senegal.
We've got going that particular length before, of course, how the whole marriage is going right now. So yes, it's something that can actually happen if Zidane, if we're not saying he has gotten the job yet, but we are sure that Deschamps is going to be leaving
After the
at
2026
World Cup. So yes, maybe at that time it's time for him to shoot his shots and start his own legacy in France. There, his father.
I can
mother
bet my testicles he
motherland.
gets the job.
But how interesting will it be for Didier Deschamps to go to the next World Cup and go win it? Be one of the only coaches who's played 3 World Cup finals consecutively. Got into 3 finals. He would have done a Cafu as a coach.
Yeah, the story would be beautiful.
A very beautiful story, of course. I mean, for you to even get to 2 finals, consecutive finals,
And then he
it
wins
is-
He lost on penalty.
He lost on
And then
penalty.
he wins it again and say, I'm not leaving.
I
have the Midas touch.
I'm sure.
Zidane would die.
I'm sure you won't do that. I'm sure, like,
Zidane will go take the Algerian national team job.
I mean, that is one of the beauties of football. Stories can change at any time.
Yeah.
You don't. It's something that is
Last
always
week we were all
unpredictable.
here saying
But it
Carlo
could
is leaving
happen.
Madrid.
It could happen.
This is
Yeah,
why I'm saying
actually.
Madrid
And
does
then,
not
I
know
mean,
what to
Yeah,
do.
it could happen.
You could see.
Claudio Ranieri had announced retirement. Roma
Yeah.
called him now. Is put them on a 16
About
unbeaten
to
on there in the
get to the
Champions League
Champions
run. So
Like also one of the best stories of this season that nobody's talking about. What's Szczesny? Retired.
Yeah.
yeah,
Barcelona were struggling. Not a good job to come into. Not a good time to come from retirement after all the success with Juventus. He came in. There's a possibility of
pushing
a
them
treble.
to- yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a
Stegen
treble.
is back and the coach says, Szczesny is my guy.
There's a possibility of that
him
guy that
being-
used to be at Arsenal.
That
Like
lost
when
the
you
final
see
at
him in the
Juve.
goal, you say, this one will go score. Going to Juve, winning everything, lost the finals of the Champions League to Barcelona at Juve. There is a very, very high possibility of him winning the treble. What a
course.
story.
absolutely.
Beautiful stories we've seen. A lot of beautiful story comes from the game of football, and one
That's why
of
it's called a beautiful game.
beautiful stories that we saw in Nigeria is that one that happened right there at the Remo Star Stadium in Ikenne last weekend. But that's not what we're going to do. I did a lot of that in our previous episode. Now we want to talk about a beautiful story. Is it the prize money is what was the conversation?
Oh, Lordy,
Beautiful
Lordy,
story.
Lordy.
I mean, a
Prize
lot of
money,
people
beautiful
talk
story,
about
NPFL.
the. I mean, it was a beautiful story. Their first win, a maiden win for them. That's right. It was a beautiful story
A
for all
private
of
club.
us, and of course for a private club. But now we are looking at the returns on investments, especially because they are a private club. If it was a government club that had won it, maybe this would have not been a conversation. Rangers won it last season, but their government club got 150 million,
Yeah.
I think, and it was not. I mean, the only thing that made it to conversation last season was because the second place would not get anything. Rangers had it all; they won it all. And people were now advocating that let's make it a way that every other person gets something for playing the league in a season. But this time around, Remo Stars have won it. They are going to go home with 200 million naira, and I mean, we saw
I
a
said
lot of
210 because of
Yeah,
the
the 10
first
from the base
from the start
payment.
of.
for the start of for 210 million naira. Now, some of the people who are close to the club, and some of them who are actually in the business. For instance, those who are currently directors at Ikorodu City, who knows where it pinches to actually run a football club in the NPFL, all had this conversation over the week. I mean, it is still going to continue because I'm very sure that there's going to be another conversation in coming weeks when the trophy is presented. We've not gotten the trophy presentation yet, and maybe that's when it's going to actually ring that Remo Stars are champions of
The
NPFL, because that everything right now we're just having is just design graphics, better, good or ugly. I mean, we saw the ugly one and all of that. But yes, now our conversation next is going to take the turn of money. I mean, football is entertainment, it's emotions. We talked about how beautiful it can be and all of that, but it is very, very, very important that we don't forget that it is about the money too. Majorly about the money right
It's
now.
the money that makes all the others happen now.
Definitely. So now we're going to look at the NPFL and the prize money, and look at the fact that not just the winners, but every other person competing. For teams that are participating in other leagues in Africa, I mean, we see what they earn. We see figures fly around. We see how thousands of dollars are what are used in conversations in clubs like that's clubs in South Africa,
The Botola in
Even
Morocco.
Tanzania.
Yeah.
What happens? What is wrong with our economy here? I mean, our economy in football. We also see that this kind of monies are mentioned in other industries in Nigeria. So I don't want us to say it is a Nigerian thing. We see it in music. We see how much millions of dollars is called in music. We see how much millions of dollars is called in film. Why is our football so different? Why is it that 200 million naira is what we think that is deserving of a champion of the league? And why is it that other teams will have to just manage 10 million naira? I mean, 10 million naira should not be, I don't think it's enough to run a club for a month. When it concerns
games.
Can't prosecute two games. You can't prosecute two games with 10 million.
Because they are also going to travel.
Rivers United will spend 10 million in one game.
Okay, so why?
Enyimba.
So what is wrong, and how can we fix this going forward? Because this is not something that can continue if we want to make our football sustainable.
I think I can jump on this. In 2023, I produced the league, and I remember again, Nigeria. When it comes to football, this will make me enemies. But Nigeria as a country have the most ignorant people when it comes to football. I remember when I was producing the league, and somebody asked me a question: how much does it cost me to go produce the league in Jos? And I said 35 million naira. And the guy went on a tirade, a diabolical diatribe. I'm the one who's producing the league. I'm the one who gets paid that money. But this guy was ranting. That's no good. That's criminal. The money is too much. It got me laughing because 35 million naira to produce a game in Jaws, that's like cheap article. A super sports would take around 150 million if they really want to do the kind of production, the kind of thing we see La Liga, French Ligue 1, English Premier League. Let's not even talk about those ones. Those guys are TV. That's a TV league. They will take between 150 million to 250 million to do it. Now, let's come to the nitty-gritty and the component. Let's put the component at play. A league that does not have a title sponsor and major broadcast partner, the teams in the league should not be expecting that much money. So that's the reason why this is like this. Again, where the money is coming from, it's not like, the start time money is so big that it can go around. No. So where the money is coming from, they just want to do this. The idea was a temporary idea. Let's do it, and then when we get sponsors, you don't have a timeline for sponsors. You're thinking we'll do the Abridged League in 2023, sponsors will see it, and then they'll jump on it. Unfortunately, at every interval, there are certain people that have also cost the league dearly. When Okocha went to Kenya and said he would rather watch the Premier League, which we all know, the Premier League is bigger than the NPFL, than watch the Nigerian League. I don't know what the relationship is, but when a person like Okocha, and then when you attack, or when you talk about Alex Iwobi not being good enough to play for the national team, Okocha will write a love letter from Siberia to Liberia, telling everybody how they should be cautious of this, cautious of that. But you sit down somewhere and you use your comment to damage a league that has... the
league is already damaged itself.
But you're killing it more. I mean, it's trying to escape drowning, but then you're using the paddle to whip the head of the person that's trying to escape swimming. And I've also seen a lot of ex-international being asked by intending sponsors, what do you think about this? And they give disparaging comment on that. The reason why I know this is that I've been involved in the marketing to Spotify, to Era, to Adidas, and the rest of them. I have all that details. That said, now, there is also a pool to make money. We'll talk about Tottenham Hotspur being the richest football club in England. But what we do not talk about how that's coming is the component that brings the money. When they host a boxing event, they add that money to profit made as a football club, but that's not a footballing event. That is a boxing event. When the NFL club comes in and puts in that $6 to $8 million pounds that they make from it, they see it as profit in football. Now, let's use Ikorodu City as a very typical example. The Unicon Stadium is a 5,000 capacity stadium. The Lagos Island community is a 5 million people community. Lagos is 22 to 25 million people. But Lagos Island itself carries 5 million people. And I know that they live in Ikorodu, so let's say they bring in 1,000 fans from Ikorodu, or even 500. Let's be magnanimous because of the distance. 500 fans from Ikorodu. Now there is a 4,500 people that you must religiously market to. For Remo Stars who won the league, they live in a village, a bush. Maybe disposable income is not there, but Lagos Island is a high density and high money. That's where some of the biggest market in Lagos is on. So they need to also take the opportunity to market to those people to have 5,000 paying fans every match. If you multiply, let's say at the rate of 500 naira across board for 5,000 people, multiplied by 19 games at home, Sporting Ikorodu City most likely will make between 55 to 60 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one money. Then if they follow the route of selling merchandise, they would also make another maybe 20 to 30 million. That's about 90 million now.
Sponsorship.
Then if they go out there and let's say they go to Innocent and say, Innocent, we want you to be our sponsors, put it across our shirt or put it on the sleeve if they're able to get that. But part of the deal is give us 2 cars. Give us 1 bus for the team and then give us 1 car. We want to give her this car, or even buy the car yourself. And so we want to give her this car. But it's going to be given on the final home game of the season. All you need to do, buy a rifle ticket.
To have attend 10 games in the season.
And then you have to attend 10 games. But your ticket that you buy is your raffle ticket. Listen, Nigerians like giveaway. That's how musicians, content creators, and everybody, even we will do giveaway. That's how they come. So if you put up that strategy, which what's it called? Owambe FC, Sporting Lagos are mastering. It's just that they forgot the job on the field. There's a lot of things about Sporting Lagos that I love, just that they forgot the job on the field and they dropped the ball. They got relegated. If they get all these things right, if it take you 1 season, take a look at Ikorodu City. If Ikorodu City has started the season telling their fans, everyone that come to the stadium, every time they get somebody, or even if it is recorded, properly recorded and played by the DJ, that thank you very much for coming. Your ticket that you are buying, that you're paying for, is what is carrying us. You know, we're a community club, we don't have money. You have to romance the emotions of people. We don't have money. You are the ones that are taking us. So one day they create a banner, they say, anybody who come to the stadium, come and sign and put your name, because we want to let you know that as we are going, we are flying on your wings, right? If they do that one, they will create a culture. People will just say, I love this team. They carry us. And then put something called a photo wall, where if you want your picture taken, come, we'll snap out, we'll put it there, and then they create a banner of it. On match day, you see your different faces, a mural that carry all this thing. Before you know, you'll be getting 5,000 paying fans every month. But you can't just sit back. You agree to play in a league that does not have a sponsor, that the TV money is not that good, because you can't get to the end and start complaining. You knew at the beginning this is what the league makes. This is what it costs the league to run. Every month, GTI will give 21.7 million to Elegbele and his team to pay for their admin. Multiply that by 12. Then you multiply what it costs them to pay for referees. Multiply what it costs them to send the people that are doing pitch panel. How much is that? What are they going to get in return? Because we're talking of just the club now. Those guys, what are they getting in return? They will go bankrupt at some point and they will not have a league again. So if you're not doing your part, remember that sponsorship comes to a league when they see the numbers that the clubs are generating. Let's look for another angle to it. Enyimba Football Club of Aba have a stadium that is 10,000 capacity, if I'm not mistaken. If Enyimba normally pack their stadium. So if Enyimba gets to the point and they go to a Coca-Cola, let's call it. They go to a Coca-Cola and say, we want to name the Enyimba Stadium
Coca-Cola
Arena. But this
Like
is
to
what you will
sponsorship.
give us, and you will put your sales people. The only water we'll drink will be Ever water, because it's made by Coca-Cola. The only drink that will be sold in the stadium on match days is this. But the first thing to do that they will ask you when you go do that presentation is, what are your numbers?
Yeah.
No club in Nigeria are able to, maybe only Ikorodu City and maybe Remo Stars are able to produce their numbers. You've not been able to produce data. You've not been able to generate data. Where's the money going to come from? Are they going to plug the money from TAR, dash you the money? So if you think you're spending 600 million or more to run the league and you don't like the fact that you get 10 million, you have to get creative. And if our clubs in the NPFL are not willing to be creative, are not willing to put data on the table, my brother, monkey go to work, bamboo goes to the shop.
That is a lot to unpack when it concerns the money that is given to both the winners of the league and of course
And they take off 10 million grants.
10 million grants to the rest of the 19 clubs that participate in that one. Now we're going to, because there's no NPFL this weekend, it's time for the Federation Cup and of course the next stage of Federation Cup, which is the quarterfinals, semi-finals now, quarterfinals, the last
the quarterfinals,
yeah. So teams are going to be traveling to different this thing, but of course we'll talk a lot about the NPFL when we come on our next edition, where we talk about the Champions League, we talk about the Presidential Federation Cup also, and everything that comes out at the end of the of this one. We have just one last thing to touch on, but before then there's going to be a confirmation of we're going to just preview and review what's going to about the under 20. There was a game yesterday. They played against Tunisia. The Junior Carthage Eagles of Tunisia, a 1-0 win. They are going to play on Sunday against Morocco. So I just want us to touch light on that win yesterday, what you saw with that game yesterday, Felix, and going against Morocco, who are also a very strong side in Africa presently. They are under 17 now, the current champions of the continent, and I mean the under 20 will be looking to also toe that line. And we saw what we played yesterday. What do you think the Flying Eagles are capable of doing going forward in this competition after that win?
I was quite impressed with the guys that played for Nigeria, and it was an interesting game to watch. The goal, especially. So prior to that goal, me and one of my friends were seeing that game, and he was saying something about the left back. I'm not going to say what he said, but immediately.
So why are you not going to
say
say
it?
it? If you would throw it up here and tell us that your friend said it's why.
So he was
Why you
putting
not
that
gonna say it?
age.
Oh,
So he saw the face of the guy and he was saying, "This is our left back." And I said, "You don't get a passport, that's one." And almost immediately the guy shot him up with a very brilliant takedown of control and then played the pass that led to the goal that Nigeria scored. And I was like, oh, the team play, the chemistry, the way they were building up from the back. You could see that these people had put enough effort in training. It's not pass one, pass two, route one. Tontong Boza. There was synergy. Pass to the right. They were building up with a 3. It's a 4 at the back system. But when they were building up, you'd see 3 players like that act like PSG. We were doing to Arsenal.
Even with the goal,
there
you
was
could
that
see
arc. The left back moved higher up. That was where he got the ball. That he played into the channel for the midfielder that was cutting it. The first touch, the takedown, very fantastic goal. And also, I saw a glimpse of the game that
credit to Pablo for his run.
Yeah.
His run to drag that Venner.
He made that run and he dragged that centre back, created that space. Good strikers play there. If you are not going to get the pass, cause commotion in the middle of that place, and that was what he did. I generally like their play. They dominated possession and they kept their calm. The Tunisians were more of a threat from set piece, and that's where I worry for our team. If they play against a team that has more height advantage than us, we might struggle with that. And it's not just a new thing with Nigeria. We have struggled, even the national team till today. We struggle with set piece. So I am hoping.
Call their names now. Why is it the national team?
Okay, so the super they struggle with set piece too. So I am hoping we'll sort out that. Kenya gave a fight to Morocco. He ended 3-2. But again, teams that want to play fancy 12 football against Nigeria, I think because of the physicality that we have, we are going to
and we can run.
But my biggest issue is we should go into the final game of the group. Kenya already through to the next phase of the competition.
Okay, so hoping that we get maximum points against Morocco on Sunday. That's for Felix. Before we go on the show today, because we've elapsed our time on the show.
They would have enjoyed it,
I'm sure. But I mean, we have something for you to take home with you this weekend, and the guys have cooked, and it's time for them to serve. So yes, I'm sure that you're seeing it on your screen. You can also get it after the show is over. But these are the weekend bet codes by the guy, and of course, how I want to ask how confident they are cooking. Felix, last week, what you did last week?
Last week, before we got to my ticket already,
witchcraft. He gave the people witchcraft.
So today they are no Friday games.
I want to ask if you're sure that this week, like this, did not make such.
Yeah, last week it was the first game and Atalanta. This week, I did my due diligence.
How confident are you?
Very confident that somebody is going to bang with this one.
Now, can you admit that last week you collected money from
Stoke
Bet WGB to make them make money?
I cannot deny or confirm that accusation.
You just to plead the fifth. Timothy, you've done twice now. Has any entered?
Arsenal did not make it happen. I was
yes or no? It's a polar question.
Okay, no.
I don't understand.
And it's your debut on the show today, Dafe. How confident are you?
Even if he doesn't go green, let me say this. I'm very confident. Even if he doesn't go green, there is nobody in the world that can get angry that my bet code does not enter. Nobody has made people win more money. I know somebody in this Lagos who built a house from my prediction. I know people who bought Uber cars.
I get them
from my prediction. No, not property. That's what Manchester United and Chelsea are living on. No.
How Manchester United enter here?
That's what they're living on. For 12 years, they've not won the Premier League. Liverpool just won. They say, we want more in the Premier League era.
We'll reconvene.
But if you bet on my code, A26483, if you bet on that code,
hey, bet on that code. That one, that's the one.
You will win. You will win.
I will win. I will win.
You will win. 826-483. You will win. Not be joke.
All right.
You know you're having. I cooked it.
Of course, that is.
I'm the king of bets now. What are you saying?
And that's, of course, that is how much we have for you on the show today. King of bets, and of course, this is Bet WGB TV. If you've not subscribed, you know what to do. Subscribe on this channel, turn your notification button, follow us on all our social media platforms, which is displayed on your screen for you to get all the interesting codes, gist, and of course, even when we're not on the show, the guys are still cooking, and of course, we're giving you proper analysis when it concerns our shots. From some of the things that we've said today, you get to see some of them later on over the weekend. So yes, enjoy your weekend. Make sure to stay out of trouble, and have a fantastic month of May. It's the first edition for the month of May, so have a fantastic month of May. See you again next time. Bye bye.